Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this big little guy right here. This is the Les George VECP version 3.0. Actually, I don't know if it's .0 or just version 3, but whatever it is, that's what this guy is. And first off, though, I want to thank very much my buddy Chris for actually sending this guy along. He said, Nick, I just got one of these guys. I think you should check it out. And that's always a beautiful thing. He's one of the people I trust and probably steer me right with regards to gear, and so that was nice. Next thing, let's do a size comparison. This is not a small knife, although it's not so huge either, even by my standards. Here it is against the Spyderco Delicus. You can see it's moderately sized. Here it is against the Ontario Rat number 1. And so blade length-wise, the Rat's maybe a little bit longer, but not by a huge margin. Here it is against the Rat number 2. And so you can see here, yeah, there we go. And let's do a quick couple of measurements on this guy. The overall blade length on this is coming in right around 3.5 inches, maybe slightly under, depending on how much the cop dislikes you. But either way, that's a solid measurement there. It's going to be legal in a fair number of places, at least. And then the overall thickness of this guy, it's a little bit on the thicker side. The blade stock is 0.15, and we're looking at about half an inch thick on overall. So that's not stellar, but you know what? It is what it is. So there's your size. Next thing, unfortunately, this is a knife that is a little hard to find. It's not impossible to find. I was able to see one that was available, but they're a little tricky. We'll talk about that later. And this is actually a knife that's a quote-unquote mid-tech. It's even he acknowledges on his website that the term has become meaningless, but it's based on his Rockeye custom knife. And this is called the VECP. That's the Value Engineering Change Proposal. Basically, he said he's taken the Rockeye, he's making the same thing, but with a more streamlined and less pricey approach. And on his website, he describes it explicitly. Guys, I should be able to talk. It says it's built in the same shop with the same attention to detail as Les George's full customs. The only difference is that the VEC blades are machine ground rather than hand ground. So there you go. And then, like I said, this is the third version of the VECP. I gather you can tell that by the hidden stop pin, as well as some other stuff. So, anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly, wow, of the Les George VECP here. Alrighty, I am a mess. Sorry, everybody. So, on the good side, we'll start off, it's made in the States. That's always a nice thing. I cheer for makers in my home country, as I'm sure you all do as well. So, that's very nice. Next thing, this has a very nice blade to it. It is CTS XHP. You can see here that's a hidden little thing there, but it is XHP, which is a nice steel with solid edge retention, that kind of thing. It is a nice shape for the blade because you get some flat area, you get a nice strong point here. A little bit of belly, can't argue with that. And the finish on the blade is actually quite nice. You can see here it does play with the light. It's a little bit more attractive than your conventional kind of working or blasted finishes. So I like that very much. And so that to me is good there. The blade is nice. Next thing, the price on this guy is, I think, fine. I'm seeing them listed anywhere between $375. I think that might have been an older generation. $400 on Les's website, sold out. Yeah, that's a fair amount of money. In fact, it's damn near Shabazz money. But the thing is, this is a really well-made knife. So I can't get too bent out of shape. It can't go up very much before I would start getting pretty bent out of shape, but at the same time, I think the price is okay for this. I mean, the quality is there, and so yeah, there you go. Next thing, this is, speaking of the quality being there, this is beautifully made. I mean, looking over this guy, there's really nothing I can highlight as like, oh, that's a fit and finish foul. I mean, the centering is right on there. Everything is, by and large, pretty good looking. All of the scales you can see here, you've got chamfers on the inside of the scales here. I mean, looking over this knife, it's just like, yeah, he did exactly what needed to be done here. No complaints there, and so I'm definitely impressed by the construction there. You've also got a couple of nice features on here that make it seem like he's going a little bit above and beyond. For instance, you get a ceramic detent ball. Is that super necessary? No, but it's always nice to see. You have some internal milling on the show side to reduce the weight a little bit and keep the balance right about where it needs to be, which is great. He's got the over-travel stop. It's actually hidden under the clip in a lot of situations, but you saw it during the disassembly there. And it seems to be like a Hinderer-style over-travel stop, which is always, I guess, a good thing. Then the pivot is fixed in place, which means no free spinning, which is always nice. And then finally, on the good side, this is very much a Les George. You take one look at it and you're like, yeah, it's Les George. And you know what? That's a nice thing. I am a big fan of designers who have their own language, who have their own sort of approach that's very, like, clear. Like, this is Les George, and so that always makes me feel nice. So, anyways, that is, to me, what's good here, is that it is very much a Les George design, and it feels that way. Les has his own language. It's got a few nice features built into there. It's beautifully made. The price is, I think, fine, especially if it stays where it is. And then the blade on it is nice, and it is made in the States. On the great side, honestly, what I really like about this guy is the action. It is very, very, very smooth. I mean, seriously, this, and it's really, I'm just going to like move this back and forth and expect you to believe me, but you should believe me. It's really, really nice. It's a very smooth, glassy sort of opening, but it also, the detent is done such that it flicks very reliably with just the thumb alone, and that's really nice. I feel like in terms of actions, this is great, and it has that same sort of Shabazz-y feeling, although a little bit quicker than the Shabazz generally. But with this very easy flicky detent here, I mean, there was no problem at all at any point of using this thumb stud to fire the knife open. I mean, you probably could do it in a very slow, controlled way. Interesting. The detent is, there we go. Yeah, popped it open. But nevertheless, it's really tuned in to fire well on that, but it's running on phosphor bronze. So, to me, I guess what I would say is great here is the action on this. It's super smooth, and it's also very, very flicky, which makes it just a joy to use and carry. So, to me, at least, that's what's great here, is that the action on this guy is really super smooth. On the bad side, although this knife is pretty good ergonomically overall, the ramp on the clip here is a little bit of a hot spot. As you really grip down on this guy, it's digging into your finger here. There's a reason that a lot of knife makers will put a flat area on the end of the clip just to make things a little bit less hot spotty, like that little guy. So, not a big deal, but it's certainly a thing. Next thing, this is unfortunately a little bit thick behind the edge. If I show that off here, you can see that both down there and then as well as up at the tip here, this is not the most aggressive grind ever, certainly. Whoever is doing the machine grind probably could go a little thinner, and honestly, that was one of the big advantages that the Wilson combat knife I had from, that was nowhere near the amount of knife this is, but at the same time, the grind was very thin, which was nice. And so whoever's doing the grinding here isn't impressing me so much. I kind of wish they'd thin that down a little bit, but then again, it might be by design. Maybe he's trying to make this really beatery. In which case, this is fine. It'll cut things, but, you know, that's the thing. Next thing, this is a little bit on the heavier side. Let me try and find my scale, which has got to be around here freaking somewhere. Come here, scale. Like I said, folks, I am just absolutely not at the top of my game today, but that's okay. Here we go. Scale. So we'll put the scale down here, and then we will put the knife on the scale, and we're coming in here at 5.17 ounces. For 3.5 inches of blade, that's a little bit heavy, and honestly, it's also a little bit on the thicker side, coming into full 1/2 inch. At the end of the world, no, absolutely not, and this carries fine. And being a relatively big knife, being a big chunk of titanium, the weight doesn't feel like out of line or anything like that, but it's definitely not a lightweight sort of affair. Next thing, this is maybe something that bugs me more than I think it should bug most people, and that is the fact that if we look at this, and see, he got these nice big screws, and I like the fact that he's using big screws all around. I believe it was T20 and T10 down here. But the screws are going straight into the titanium on the other side there, and this is something that is always, and maybe I'm overcautious here, but it's always slightly concerning, because if I were to strip those screws out, like if some jackass were to take this guy, disassemble it, say, live on YouTube, because he's, I don't know who would do that, and then over-tighten that and strip out some of that titanium, that could be really problematic. The knife flat out might not go back together, especially given that the standoffs aren't shouldered or anything like that, and so that adds a point of failure, as opposed to on a lot of knives where you've got like a Chicago screw style thing, or where the screws are going into the backspace, the standoffs, that is, where you can replace the standoffs. You can replace the Chicago screw. Here, you might have to just remachine the frame. Not necessarily undoable, but it's certainly something that always scares me a little bit, and that's really the only place on this where I feel like, I'd like to see that a little better. And then finally, on the bad side, this is really hard to find. Maybe this is ugly. Maybe I could have called this. Whatever it is, look, it's not great. Because this is a nice knife, and it's a knife that Les George is making right now. If you go to his website, they're sold out on his website, and there is no freaking information about where to buy one of these. And the thing is, this bothers me. I mean, damn it, makers, tell me where to buy your knives. If somebody is coming up and saying, hey, I want to buy your knife. Take my money. You should allow them at least some information about that. Like, at least, Ed, he put on his website something like, hey, these are out of stock, but I'm hoping to have more in April of 2019. Or hey, these are out of stock, but I'm periodically sending them to Knife Center. Or, hey, these are out of stock, but come find me at a show and I'll sell you one. That's great. Or even just say, no, I'm not making any more of these. I'm sorry, guys. That's better. But when I'm stuck with this no information state, that always bugs the crap out of me. And so I really do wish that less, and I'm beating him up for this, but I should beat everybody up for this. It bugs me when makers have a model that's like this, that's, production-y, but that it's really, really impossible to know where to get one next. Because I'd love to be able to send people that way, and this is frustrating. And so, to me at least, that's what's bad, is that it's hard to find, and that Les is offering us no clues. The screws are going straight into titanium, which could maybe be a long-term durability thing. It's a little heavy, it's a little thick behind the edge, and the clip ramp is a little bit of a hot spot as you're gripping down on this guy. On the ugly front, like I said, the hard-to-find thing is borderline ugly, but the thing is, I can't beat him up too much on that, because this is kind of the standard. Most makers provide very little information, so I'd like to see everyone fix that, but I can't drag him over the coals there. Final conclusion on this guy, look, this is actually a very nice knife. I mean, it is simple, it's well executed, it's smooth, it's dialed in. This knife, looking at it here, aside from the thickness at the edge and the little bit of screw in there, is really... there's not much I can complain about here, and honestly, the stuff I can complain about isn't a huge deal. Yeah, it's a little heavy, it's a little pricey, but even then, I think it justifies it. It's a little thick behind the edge. The screws into titanium is always a little scary, and Les has given us no hint whatsoever on where to freaking find one. But overall, this is a really nice piece. I mean, seriously. I mean, for me, it's not tempting personally. It's a little big, it's a little heavy. I mean, I got all those little issues in there. But, and this isn't probably the first knife I'd buy if somebody handed me $400 and said, hey, Nick, go buy a knife. And because there's no, like, super compelling element or feature that pushes it over the edge. And I'm not such a big fan of, I'm not like an active fan of Les George's designs. I don't mind them at all. I think they're solid, but it's not something I'm down. So as a result, this knife isn't something I'd go chase. But at the same time, that feels very, very personal. Because I have to acknowledge that this is a really nice knife. It is a really solid tool. There's really nothing that wrong with it. And if you've got one in your pocket, the days I was carrying this guy, it was just like, yeah, I'm all set. I've got all the knife I need and maybe a little bit more. I mean, if you're looking to, like, slice freaking, super thin cucumber or something, yeah, this isn't going to be where you're after here. But anywhere else, it's really not lacking. This is just profoundly well done. And I think this could very easily be somebody's one knife if this design, if this approach is for you. And so, although this knife is not for me, and it doesn't quite hit the level of gem, just because there's not, maybe this is bias, I don't freaking know. But at the same time, it is great. And I think that, by George, the VECP might be proof for you that less can be more. Because Les George, by George, less, more, no? All right, anyways, hope this has been interesting to you. It is really, really nice, and if you're loving the style, I think you'll love the knife. Have yourselves a good one. Bye now.